What's going on, everybody? It's me, Unit Z, and today we're going to be taking a look at ranking every single arc in One Piece. Now, technically, Wano is not done yet, but considering there's been a 4-week break, I basically think that Wano Country is done. After this, I don't know, maybe I'll call it post Wano or whatever. We're going into the final saga. Anywho, so we're going to be doing this in order and then moving things around. Now, Romance Dawn is really important. It's not the best, but that first opening chapter with Luffy, Shanks, and all that, it's really good. Brings up a few questions, though, as you know. Why did Shanks not just defeat the Sea Beast, the Lord of the Coast? He could have just done it. But, you know, whatever. But still, I think it's an S tier. Maybe we'll move it around. Orangetown. I do like Orangetown, the thing with the dog and his owner and the store. It's pretty good. Not that fun, though. I'm going to give it a C. And I wouldn't necessarily... For Nami's introduction, she definitely does some stuff later on that leads to better arcs. But, not a bad arc. Syrup Village is also a C. I think it's going to be the bottom of C. It is relatively slow. This was the biggest One Piece arc when it came out. So it went Romance Dawn, then Orangetown, then Syrup Village. Like, Syrup Village was, like, the biggest arc at the time, and you could see that the pacing wasn't as great. However, compared to some arcs, its pacing, even though it's, like, significantly less, it does significantly less with the time it is provided. And, you know, not much you can really do about it, but, hey, he was still trying to figure things out, I personally think. Baratier. Honestly, I really like Baratier. Although I'm not the biggest Sanji fan, the good thing about this is it had good Sanji moments, which obviously made you like the character. And there was also good Zoro moments, and Zoro versus Mihawk was still a fantastic fight, which everyone likes. So I think maybe another S tier. Arlong Park. Arlong Park got better with Fishman Island. However, I don't really think that is necessarily gonna help it here because, wow, this arc got better 500 weeks later, you know? Where Arlong does have a point, and we did find out that it makes total sense for him doing his actions, but then again, it also doesn't, because Arlong hates how the Navy is treated, or not Navy, how the world government is treated, but then he allies himself with the Navy, or he allies himself with a corrupt member of the Navy, and then enslaves humans, because celestial dragons enslaved like fishmen, and it's more like he's just a piece of garbage, like in every general sense of the word. He literally goes, I can't pick a fight with you, I'm too weak, so he goes and picks on the weakest sea. Like, he's, even though you can see how, in a sense, he is, you know, he doesn't, no one expects him to be nice to humans, but he's still an antagonist. And it does give reasoning, just not reasoning that you can agree with. So Arlong Park is a pretty good arc, but I would not say it's an S tier. Logtown, for the most part, not much happens. It's a lot chiller. The anime actually does a good job of fleshing things out. With anime canon content. Now, I know some people are throwing hands at that, but it's good. and that is because Oda like approved it, like in like Oda gave them notes, for example, like about Usopp meeting a guy who tried to shoot Yesop and then like challenged Yesop to a duel. And just stuff like that makes it, I would say, B tier. Reverse Mountain. This is actually the shortest arc. It sets up some decent things, but does nothing too crazy. However, we do meet Crocus. There's a pretty funny joke in it, which, One Piece's comedy is appealing sometimes, but not always, especially not in always in situations. But I would still say Reverse Mountain is probably the top of C tier. Whiskey Peak. I personally really like Whiskey Peak, and I really love its adaptation in the anime, especially with the cool vibe that Zoro gives off. However, right after that, we get into the dumb moment where Luffy believes a random stranger and, like, attacks Zoro, who's his most loyal crewmate, and then things just spiral out of hand. And then, of course, Nami comes in with the double punching to get them to shut up because she's just such a good friend, guys. And then we do get introduced to Robin. That explosion was really crazy. It set up a lot of things. So I'm going to go with a top of B. Little Garden. Little Garden is pretty fun. It's not too crazy. For the first adventure that you have with Vivi in her like true state, you can see she's she's a very good character. And on top of that, Dory and Bragi obviously are very entertaining. We build up giants once again, which, hey, might actually affect the plot going forward after, 20 years? Woo! So, all that good stuff. And then, nothing too crazy happened in it. The fight with Mr. 3 was pretty decent. However, I did not like the paint aspect of it. I didn't think it was necessarily needed, and I think just having wax that's as hard as steel, then later fueling Zoro's motivation to cut steel, it definitely wasn't bad or anything. I think bottom of B so far. Drum Island. This is another A. I really like Drum Island. Honestly, it's not crazy good, but Dr. Kureha's speech is probably one of the most quotable things in all of One Piece. And it's... not... Is it Kureha? Shoot. Editor, time to pause. Yeah. Sorry, my bad. Dr. Hiruluk. His speech is very quotable, and for some reason I always mess up his name. Just so you know, that's not because I don't remember him, it's just because I'm bad with names. And it's the same with all my friends. We can't get his name right, but we can remember his speech, which, kind of leads into his whole point. He's not forgotten, it's just his name is. Anywho, moving on to Alabasta. Alabasta, it's either... I think it's an S. I think it's probably the best arc in the series. And... or so far at this point, so far. And... everything just sort of culminates together. Then Vivi asking Luffy if they're still friends, or asking the Straw Hats, and the X. And then in the anime, they play We Are, the instrumental version, as they're sailing away, and it's so nostalgic because it's already been 130 episodes. It's just good stuff. Then we move on. There is post Alabasta in the anime. But right after that is Jaya, which is honestly another banger. I honestly prefer Jaya over Arlong Bark. It is... I think it's what... Jaya makes Skypiea even better. Like, if Jaya was not as good, Skypiea would be nowhere near. Nowhere near as good. And you know what? That is okay. Because Skypiea, I would say, is worse than Jaya, honestly. Jaya's quick, it hits hard, and then we move on to Skypiea, which is a lot of world building. Also, no one's talked about this, but it's kind of like the first war arc in the series. You know? Like, there are a decent number of war arcs, but this time it's a major faction. Like, major factions. You have Enel and his divine guard and people like that, along with the Shandorians and their entire tribe just going at it. There's 200 people, only for it to drop down to 5. Or not, maybe hundreds of people dropping down to just 5, and then Enel wipes them out, and then Luffy fights him. Granted, sometimes Oda has a hard time with the villains. Like, for example, I think there was one additional one where Luffy tried to get up to the bell, or not to the bell, to Enel's ship the second time, only to get booted off by Enel. And I get that that was done for comedy, but honestly, I kind of would have preferred if, because then it's his third try, which seems to be a trend for Luffy. However, third time is the lucky charm, so what can you do? Time for Long Land, or as I like to call it, D tier. This is my least favorite arc in the series. I'm putting it right then and there. Least favorite arc. It's kind of boring. Foxy's a bad villain. He's a bad villain, I would say, even by One Piece standards. He honestly feels like a filler character, which is funny because he appears more in filler content than he does in the actual show. That's crazy to think about. He appears in more filler episodes than he does canon episodes. That's a weird statement to say, considering he's a canon character. And, obviously there are some funny bits, but really apart from, Afro Luffy, which is, the final, 2 chapters or something. So, what? The final 2 chapters are good, but the rest of it are just not that fun? And also, the fandom is so divided on this one arc. It makes no sense. Because some people call it good and genius and comedy, other people hate it. Honestly, I'm in the camp that hate it. I think if instead of Long Land, they just dropped down out of the sky and went right to meet, Aokiji. Or maybe not right. I think, honestly, if you chopped out Foxy, it would have been a faster pace, and, maybe we would be done 1-0 by now. But hey, I don't know. Then again, I don't write, so maybe he wanted a funny, silly, goofy pirate in his silly, goofy pirate manga. Anyway, Water 7, S tier. Not better than Alabasta. But honestly, Luffy versus Usopp is still crazy good. The emotional beats hit really hard. Robin's this is kind of the Robin. This isn't the true Robin arc. That happens later, but it definitely fleshes out a character a little bit more, builds up more intrigue. CP9 as the surprise villain twist. Lucci is a really good villain for One Piece. And then that leads right into Enies Lobby, which is the best arc at the time. So, Enies Lobby is the climax to Water 7. It's fantastic. I would highly recommend it. Then again, I would highly recommend One Piece, so that's not saying much. Just the characters. I Want to Live is such a powerful scene. You guys know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, well, keep reading there, bucko. So, after, and also, the Mary, oh god, the Mary. I've never cried at a ship before, and damn it. I've never cried for a boat, but I did that day. Post Enies Lobby. I think it's the most important post, or no, it's one of the most important arcs. because this is just it reveals a bunch of stuff. Luffy and Dragon, Ace and Blackbeard get Ace gets finessed, so that sets up Marineford, and then just stuff, man. Good stuff. It's some good stuff. Some good comedy. Some decent comedy too. We also get to catch up on Kobe, which is really really cute because we literally never see Kobe like ever. He shows up like once in a blue moon, but he's still made to be like a good side character, and he's pretty charming. So next one, Thriller Bark. Thriller Bark. I think it's better than Skypiea. It's just the problem with these two, because they share a lot of the same problems. AKA, they're sandwiched between the two, some of the best arcs in the series. Thriller Bark is it's sandwiched between Enies Lobby and Sabaody Archipelago. And we'll get to that soon. But, case to say, like, I really don't think that Thriller Bark is... A lot of people like it. Then again, a lot of people also seem to like arcs after the fact, and people say they keep getting better after the fact. Personally, normally when I watch it, even if like the next arc makes it better, it doesn't really justify it because, simply put, some people are like only gonna... Actually, most people are, because it's a 1,000 chapter manga. You really think most people are gonna read it twice? Twice? Like, are you kidding? Bro, there are exceptions to the rule, obviously. Some people have read it more than once. A lot of people have. But the majority of people who are One Piece fans are only gonna read it once. So it doesn't matter if you go back and yes, I know. That's just how people consume media, though. If a show is only good on its second watch, then it's not a very good show. Because you need to get people hooked, or make people believe that they need to see it again. Which is something that, granted, Thriller Bark and most of One Piece does, but on first viewing, especially if you're binging it, and binging it fast, like how I was, I literally caught up to One Piece in like 2 months. So, this is just mostly personal experience, but after Enies Lobby and such a good climax, to come back down to, Thriller Bark, which isn't even a bad arc, it's just compared to the other two, it's not as good. But, since I mentioned Sabaody Archipelago, we're gonna start that. And that is also an S tier, I would say. With we knew the Straw Hats weren't gonna die, but you still felt it to your core when they got poofed away, and it definitely hits in the feels real bad. All right, Amazon Lily. I want to say no. I really enjoy watching Luffy be on his own. It's just a fun and, pretty entertaining time. When he meets Bo, it's pretty engaging. And you know what? I know I was giving crap about this, but once you see those celestial dragons and you hear about what they did to Bo, but you already had a reason to hate and despise them in Sabaody Archipelago. So it builds off of one another. Not necessarily like Thriller Bark and Fishman Island, where, honestly, before Fishman Island, Arlong was just an asshole. Like, that was his literal... Like, he wasn't... Oh, since I suffered, other people are gonna... Like, no, before he was literally just a douche. And... that changed, but with Amazon Lily, it builds on top, so it's building rather than replacing. It's good. Impel Down, Bon Clay is S tier character. I don't know. Maybe, yeah. I think the interactions with Luffy, Bon Clay, and Buggy are really, really charming. It's really fun to watch, and I just enjoy the entire thing. Like, it is a treat to watch. Even, granted, it is also not really sandwiched, but it's right before Marineford, which, doesn't really help it because then it's going to be compared to that. But it's definitely better. Like the Sabaody Archipelago arc, which is Sabaody, Amazon Lily, Impel Down, Marineford, post war, and then Return to Sabaody. Or that's kind of the saga at the time. Or what I consider the saga, bite me. It's pretty good. And overall, just a higher level of quality, I think. Next one, Marineford. Marineford was my favorite arc. And it might still be. I don't know. We'll have to wait. And you'll have to watch the entire video in order to realize the answer. Now, are there issues with it? Yeah, it's a little inconsistent as far as power scaling goes. I know people don't like that, but it is a little wonky. Like, oh, Luffy's evading attacks from Mihawk, even though Mihawk was just throwing an attack which it took all of Jozu's might to block. And then Jozu slammed into Aokiji, and then Aokiji thoroughly beat Luffy. And it's like, oh, okay, so these characters are not relative, but they are relative. And then Vista, who, like, literally no one ever talks about, just starts fighting Mihawk, and Mihawk knows him by name. And it's like, oh, okay, I see how it is. That makes sense. But yeah, it's not. There are some problems with it. Granted, Ace, I feel like, was kind of too depressed for the longest time when he's like, run, everyone run, don't save me. And it's like, boy, you really think if they all turn around and flee, the Marines are just not gonna shoot them? Like, that's not how they work. Have you seen the Marines? Have you seen Nakainu? That man has a body count. There's a reason he has a body count. You're on his body count. Don't. However, also started this great debate in the community called Yonko versus Admiral, which is still being debated upon, and I might make a video on it eventually. But for now, we have other stuff we need to do, like rank post-war. Post-war, I like more than no. I would say, for me personally, the fatigue after Marineford, and that also, like, Marineford is straight up a climax. Like, if Oda just decided, hey, I already wrote, like, 15 years of this manga, I'm out, Marineford is the last arc, it would have been a crazy ending. And I think ending on that high point might have left it with a better legacy. Because we'll talk about that later. We'll save that for later. But yeah, post-war fatigue. However, finding out about Sabo. Quick notice, I had a stupid theory that Sabo was actually Doflamingo for the longest time. I don't know. Don't ask me why. But it was just sort of like, I guess it was literally because they were both blonde. And oh no, it was also because Sabo was royalty and Doflamingo gave off like a corrupted king kind of vibe, which, later turned out to be true. Yay me. I can predict the future. And all that stuff where it wasn't really crazy or anything. So, moving on. Return to Sabaody. This is a fun little arc. I personally enjoy it more than post-war. I can only imagine. I wasn't reading it weekly, but I can only imagine how crazy it would have been getting into finally catching up, waiting a month. Because, we've been waiting a month and it's been torture. Only to return and see everyone's new redesigns and everything is crazy and hectic and it's very good. Fishman Island. Fishman Island lacks a lot of tension, but I like what it tries to do. But yeah, Fishman Island pretty good. A little slow paced at times. Lacks a little bit of tension. Horty is just a garbage villain. Like, that's, I know that's kind of the point where he's just like a ball of hatred for literally no reason, but I don't personally enjoy him, and he's not entertaining in any way. He doesn't pose a real obstacle, especially finding out later on that like Luffy had Gear 4 the whole time, and he was already like pressuring Horty to take like loads of drugs in Gear 2. And yeah, alright, Punk Hazard. Punk Hazard kind of reminds me a little bit of Little Garden, which is why I'm putting it just under Little Garden. It is worse, though. And, nothing is too fantastic about it. It's a little slow-paced, too. Also, the body swapping gimmick is funny at first, but then again, I think I would have preferred if, like, the entire crew got body swapped. That way, it would have been even more chaotic, more different interactions. Seeing how, like, I don't know, like, Zoro is like, oh, or Zoro gets, like, switched with Robin's body, and he's like, so Robin and Nami start fighting or some, stupid stuff like that. And, well, like, Nami's losing her mind that Sanji's trying to kick her up, stuff like that. That stuff would have been funny. But apart from that, it reintroduced Law. Law is good. Shocker, right? Not like he's ranked like 4th or something in the entire world of most popular character. Next, Dressrosa. Dressrosa is worse than... No, it's the top of B. I think it's the top of B. Dressrosa is pretty slow, especially in the anime. In the anime, oh my god, it is bad. You'll notice after the time skip, the anime did get a lot more sluggish. This is just a personal thing. And, granted on binging, it's not as bad, but like, I binged the manga, and I binged the anime. So I double binged it. I've been through both. And, like, the manga is like 9 volumes, or around 9 volumes, I want to say. Which, shoot, I forget how many volumes it is. Anywho, though, it is decently long, especially for just a single arc, single location, and not too many necessarily fresh points. Like, it does have 2 different islands, but I feel like that second island where they tried to receive Caesar was disposed of really quickly. Also, the climax, like, Doflamingo should have gone out, like, 8 times ago. Or they just shouldn't... I don't think Oda should have written it that way then. Like, maybe only have it twice. Maybe have them fight it twice. Instead of, Gamma Knife, and then Kongan, and then, like... I think it would have been better if Gear 4 and Doflamingo had a better fight. Because personally, I didn't enjoy their fight too much. It's not one of Luffy's best... Or, yeah, I guess it is. Although Doflamingo does try to carry it just because of his performance, which is really great. I'm not going to dispute that at all. Doflamingo is great. He's a great villain. One of One Piece's best villains, right up there with, like, Crocodile and Rob Lucci and Kaido and all that. Zoe. The thing about Zoe is really good on a first viewing, which is kind of where I'm ranking this. Because you find out all this stuff, it's just, when I was rereading it, I kind of just didn't care. Because I literally knew, like, Zoe does not provide much entertainment other than, like, finding out stuff. Now, granted, it does provide some good character moments, like Nami patting Zoro on the head. Everyone talking about how they'll beat up thousands of men to save Robin. Good stuff like that, which was pretty funny. And there's good stuff in it. It was nothing too crazy. Also, Jack was like made to be really imposing, but then like Jack has literally not done anything. So with his it technically has a positive, or he technically has one win, but then again that's because of the poison gas, so not really. Next one, Whole Cake Island. S tier. S tier, S tier, S tier. Yeah, I really like Whole Cake Island. Granted, Sanji's a little bit... Honestly, this is my favorite arc for Sanji. It's just whenever the Straw Hats run away, it's kind of like... You guys know what Luffy is gonna do. Like, it's not rocket science. Like, does Sanji really think that Luffy... Like, no. Especially Sanji, because this is post-time skip. That's... Like, if this would have happened before time skip, I would have liked it. Or, I don't know. I think it would have made more narrative sense. Because right now, it's post-time skip. Luffy is gunning after the Emperors. And here's Sanji. He gets kidnapped by one of the Emperors. And then he's like, Luffy can't win. I must sacrifice. And it's like, but Luffy is going against these guys anyway. Also, the Grand Fleet has not done anything. Granted, this was supposedly more of a stealth mission, but it's One Piece. Stealth does not exist. Especially for a certain Monkey D. But it definitely dragged on a little bit too long at the ending, sort of like this video. And it definitely ended. The actual ending, though, was very climactic and very satisfactory, especially in the sense that it wasn't, because like we didn't know what happened to the Vinsmokes. We didn't know what happened to Jinbei until he rolled back up. We didn't know a lot of stuff. All we knew that Big Mom was okay. Big Mom's crew was in decent shape. We haven't even seen Katakuri yet. Like, bro, we all want to see Katakuri again. Give us more Katakuri. I do not agree. I know Cole is agreeing with me right now. Alright, Reverie. I like Reverie more than Zoe. Invite me. Character interactions from people who we never thought would interact. Good. Reveals. Good. What do those reveals mean? I literally have no idea. But that's okay, because we'll find out in the next 8 years. Yay. Hey, I mean, if there's one thing One Piece does, it teaches you patience. So, alright. Good arc. Now, Wano Country. Wano Country is probably better than Marineford. I don't know. Wano has even higher highs, but it also has lower lows. So, Wano has... Personally, I'm not a big fan of Gear 5 and how it's kind of ruined the Gorosei as far as intelligence goes. They don't seem that threatening anymore. Next is Kaido. He is a great villain. Or maybe not even a villain at this point, because, like, yeah, he's bad, but then again, we still find out so much about him, and how Joy Boy is, like, destined to defeat him, and if he did that in order to create a world where Joy Boy needed to be, maybe? I don't know, that's just my headcanon, though. That has nothing to do with this review. Now, also, Robin versus Black Maria, Jinbei versus Who's Who, Frankie versus Sasaki, all good, but then again, there's also Mother Mode Big Mom, which is stupid. Nami and Usopp don't do anything. Like, bro, their literal job is guard Tama. That is it. They are Tama protection duty. And then there's Marco. Marco shows up. I don't know why Marco is there, but it's pretty cool that he is there. And it does make it feel more connected. Because, here's a character from Marineford, because in all honesty, as much as Marineford, like, and people say it changed the world, since only Luffy was there, like, none of the other Straw Hats were there, so seeing someone like Marco, who's also there, it sort of brings Marineford back around. Speaking of Marineford, though, they also further develop Ace, and I do really like the idea of late Ace being the Messiah that never was. So that's a point for One Piece. Or that's a point for Wano and One Piece, I guess. Making Ace good. Not like Ace is dead or anything. On top of that, Momo. I don't like Momo, but he's had a good character arc, and now I'm starting to like him. He's pretty funny. Yamato is really good. There's a reason she became extremely popular in the latest poll. And I mean, Oda keeps pushing her to be a Straw Hat, and granted, most of the fan base wants her to be a Straw Hat. So it's all good. Now, looking at this list, if you guys have noticed a trend, you've noticed that only 2 arcs from three arcs from post time skip are in S tier, whereas the rest of them are all pre-time skip, and evenly distributed, I would say. The reason I think that most people don't... A lot of people say that One Piece after the time skip is bad, but it has the highest highs but also the lowest lows. Like, straight up, look. Fishman Island, Punk Hazard, Return to Sabaody, Dressrosa, which was a lot of people's disappointment, and the Reverie. Actually, no. I would say... I think I like... Actually, no. I don't know why I put Zoe that far up there. I'll replace... Yes. That is what's happening. So, I'm not doing this to fit my narrative, by the way. I just think Post Enies Lobby is that damn good. Now, literally, there isn't a single arc until Whole Cake Island, I think, which happens like 400 chapters after the time skip. Or not that far in, but it definitely happens a very long time. So for a very long time, we were getting hit with, a C rank, a B, another B, another B, like, we were getting hit with mediocrity? Not bad by any means, but just not the highs that the series is known for. Like, there's a reason everyone goes, One Piece is good. One Piece is fantastic. When you have a statement like that, having a majority of your post-time skip, which was built up to for an entire month, just coming down to mediocrity, would obviously lead to some people getting upset. And if I had to take a guess, I would say if One Piece were to all come out nowadays, if it actually started like now and went all the way, and it didn't have the following it did, I would say that post-time skip would probably lower the fan base. Or post-time skip before Whole Cake Island would probably lower the fan base. And this isn't me being mean, because then again, I've also watched and read it twice. Or I've watched it once, read it once. So I've been through it twice. I know what I'm talking about. And it's not that good. It's not good enough where I can see someone excited to re-binge that. And that's exactly what happened to me. After Marineford, I was not really looking forward to going through Dressrosa again. Granted, the manga's a lot faster, so it wasn't that taxing, but it definitely leads into fatigue, which is something that you don't want your story to have. But then again, I'm not the biggest fan of post-time. I'm not a biggest fan of after the time skip, but some people might. And if you are, then why don't you tell me in the comments below? And hey, while you're down there, maybe you should like and subscribe. Now, I'm gonna see you chaps later. Have a fantastic day. And remember, don't do anything too stupid.